Okay, so we've been sitting here for the last good 10 minutes trying to figure out how to start this video. And we really came to the conclusion that we really just have to press record and just go for it.
Yep.
So,
Might be editing a lot of this out.
but yeah. So, you are, because I really don't even know what to say now.
I'm Joel Hayes. This is my lovely wife, Claudia Marie Hayes.
Okay, with the middle name. All right. So
whoops.
his is Thomas.
Government. I didn't mean to put the government out there.
Joel Thomas.
I refer to her as Marie a lot of the times. That's why I just said it. So
Yeah.
no big deal. It's a beautiful name. It's old school, but I like it.
Thanks. It's from my grandma. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. This is more his forte, the whole video space. But I decided that I really wanted to make this video today. So we're really just going to talk about our experience in, I guess, really the birth and death of our son, Timothy. So today is August 25th, 2022. And today would be Timothy's 7th birthday. So it's been 7 years since he was born. And it's also been 7 years since he died, because he died on the same day that he was born. So really this is just a happy birthday to him. For the past 7 years we've done different things. We've done balloon releases, we've done cupcakes, we've done candles, we've done gathering at the cemetery, we've done gathering at our house. But this year it didn't really feel like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like how I normally feel. Like I just didn't feel like putting anything together. I didn't feel like trying to do any of those things. It just felt like it was time to just tell the story. Because I've seen, honestly, over the past couple months, that there are just a lot of women that I even know, that I went to school with, or I know in our family, or just I see on social media, who have gone through something similar. So it was like, okay, it's time to just kind of share, our story and, how we've grown and healed from that. So you have anything to add?
No, other than the fact that, you all will have to bear with me with this, because I can get emotional sometimes.
It's a very emotional topic, and we can't really make any promises that there won't be any emotions here. So that's just the life. Okay. So I guess kind of starting with a little bit about us. Precurser, preclaimer? What's the word?
Well, it depends on what you're going for here.
We'll preface this
preface
by saying this will probably be a long video. So, me personally, when I watch videos, I don't mind them being long, because I'm usually doing other things, or if it's something that I'm really like, I need to hear someone else tell me it's going to be okay, or tell me what they've been through that relates to me. I don't mind sitting there listening, but I'm just giving you a preface.
And that's what we're going for, right? Because this is not like an informative video.
No, it's very personal.
Right, very personal.
Video.
Right.
But yeah, so just
if
kind
you're
of
looking for information, this is not a video.
Yeah, like if you're looking for the ins and outs of, I don't know, rocket science, then no, this is not the place. So just kind of starting off with like who we are. Well, Joel already introduced us. So Joel, Claudia.
Yeah.
We live in North Carolina. I'm originally from Maryland, and we met in June of 2011. So we met 11 years ago now. Wow. And yeah, so So we met right before I went to school, right before I went to college. It was the summer after I graduated from high school. He is a year, school-wise, older than me. He's like 6 months older than me.
Yeah. Oof.
Age-wise. But anyway.
Listen here.
Mm-hmm. Six whole extra months.
Yes.
But yeah, so we met then, and we started dating, like, I guess 6 months later or so. We were friends. And then we started officially dating in January 2012. So that would be, what, 6 months?
That's 7 months?
I don't know, something like that.
Not good at math.
That's a whole decade ago at this time, at this point.
Right.
But, yeah, so we were dating. And I was in and out of school, like literally in and out of school. I went to school for a year, then I came home, and then I went back to school, and it was just like in and out. And I went to school in Greensboro, which is like an hour and a half from where he lived. But yeah, so we were dating, and I finally moved back to North Carolina in 2014. I guess for good, you could say. And yeah, of course we had our ups and downs. We were, 21 in that age. We were 18. Yeah, we were 18 when we met. So we had our ins and outs, our breakups and makeups. And we were really just coming off of a breakup into 2014, going into 2015. Right. But before we get there, Joel, what were you doing with your life at that time? I was in school. What were you doing?
I'm being foolish. Definitely not aligning my ways fully with what I claim to believe, religiously. But anyway, yeah, no. So I was in school too, doing taking courses at a community college, and trying to get my degree to be an accountant. Until I realized that's really not the direction I wanted to go with my life, because I didn't want to count other people's money. I just rather count my own. So yeah, I let that go. But yeah, for the overarching component of what we're trying to display here in this video, the foolishness is probably more.
Hence the ups and downs,
right? Relevant to
But yeah, so that kind of gets us to that point. So it was like 3 years of 3 years of just up and down of us just being in a relationship. Yeah.
Does it take that long?
So
to make decisions?
Apparently. But yeah, so at this point we're 22. It's 2015. We're both 22. I turned 22 that March. Like I said, we were coming off of a breakup, so we just kind of had gotten back together.
You don't have to wonder. It was my fault.
And you said this time you already knew you wanted to get married, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This time I did. Just coming out of dealings with another individual, I was just like, I need to stop the foolishness, right? Because before then, it was kind of, before we got together, I just come out of a 2.5 year relationship. I'm young then at the time, right? No, you don't know what you want. You're a teenager, 16, 17 years old, 18 years old. You don't really know where you land. Not for everybody, but over here in the West, we don't know. But anyway, yeah. So I was kind of always in that headspace. From then, it's kind of like, no, I don't really even care about like marriage. I don't want to be married. Like, why should I have to get married? Like,
he told me that he wasn't getting married, and the only way he would marry me is if I could hit this ridiculous Mariah Carey note. I don't even know what song it was, but
every song
it wasn't going to happen. Some type of whistle note, and I was like, okay. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I can change him.
You're probably doing that because it's not even legit anymore. She just has something that she presses a button and has someone press a button and make a sound. You probably doing that now, but it doesn't even matter. We're married.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it was. I was up to that point. I was kind of like, there's no point. I really don't need to be married. Like if I'm in a relationship, I always be straightforward. That's kind of what I would, the mind space, the headspace I was in. And, surprisingly, it didn't, I don't think, well, I'm not going to say it didn't bother her, but it didn't seem to bother her at the time. It got to a point
where it bothered me.
You know how it is.
After that last breakup we went through, and when we made it, I was like, listen, I ain't doing that again. That's what I had decided in my mind. I'm not doing that again.
But
well, you didn't tell me that you wanted to get married.
I know I didn't. But I had the whole thing planned out. You know, because I think we ended up. It was 2014. We ended up getting back together and what, like
the very beginning of 2015.
Yeah, it was like December. Because my last dealings of foolishness. It was like December 2015. So 14, right? Yeah. Correct. So January, I kind of decided to make a move. So, you know how we do. We get the ring, and then you want to do all the things. You want to do the proposal. You want to have everything.
So you had got the ring in January.
Yeah, I remember. I remember ordering the ring in January.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
And it was supposed to come no, I think I decided to get it in January because I remember showing my mother. I went through options. I showed my mom's. You know, she was like, "Oh, this was pretty, whatever." So I settled on it. I think in February I ordered the ring, and March it was supposed to come in March. Or was it April? It was March or April. Okay, it was one of those times it was supposed to come in.
Oh, okay.
But my dates are getting mixed up. It's been so long.
Well, anyway, just know it was the very beginning of 2015.
Yeah, it was the beginning.
Anyway, it didn't really happen like that.
Yeah, because my plans did not.
It didn't really happen like that because all that was going on in his mind, my mind, whatever. All I know is that we did not stop fornicating. We were still doing things that adults do. Most likely, well, now I'm going to say most likely, but according to what we believe that married adults should do. We were still doing our thing, and I got pregnant in March, I think. Yeah. So I found out that I was pregnant in March. It was like, I think the end of March. Or was it? No. Was it April?
See those dates, I'm telling you those dates.
No, it wasn't March. It wasn't March. I think I got pregnant in March because if you count back, it was like March. But I found out.
I got proof that it was March.
I found out in April that I was pregnant. I was living with my aunt at the time, and it was just late one night, and I was like a week late on my cycle or something like that. And so I went to Dollar Tree, I bought the test, and I went in there and I took it and got the shock of my life because I was not expecting that I was caught completely off guard.
Can't be complete. There had to be a percentage of
there was a little bit. Of course, there was a little bit of idea. I was like a week off, but that happens. I mean, sometimes that happens. Like, ladies, that sometimes that happens. And I was off a week, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a test just in case. Not expecting anything of it, because I also remember I took like an ovulation test at the same time, just because I don't know why I did that, but I was like, there's a line on that one, and there's a line on this one, and I immediately started freaking out. My aunt wasn't home, my uncle was, and I just kind of ran out the house, and I called him, and I told him, and he was just like, really, Claudia? And I was like, really, Claudia? That's all you have to say? What was your first thoughts?
My first thoughts?
Yeah.
I was wondering why you were calling me and telling me that versus telling me face to face. Because it wasn't
really
like you were in Greensboro going to school
that I didn't tell him face to face.
Yeah, there's some things you don't do over the phone. It's like you breaking up with a female. You don't do that over the phone. You talk to them. You be personal. This is the way I was, kind of talk.
Okay.
Like, be straightforward.
Ask him how many of our breakups were through text.
No. I always still looked at you because I never. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, yeah. So I called him and I told him, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I remember saying that, like, "Oh my gosh!" I said it like over and over and over again because I was like freaking out, and he wasn't really saying anything. He was just very quiet. So that's all you were thinking the whole time I was talking.
If we were face to face, you would have been able to get it all. But we weren't face to face, so you missed it. I could have been freaking out and just being like, no, I wasn't like that though. It was because as I said, I had already decided. It had been at least a month or two that I had decided. Of course, I hadn't said anything yet because I wanted to do all the things. So, by that time, I don't think the ring had come in yet. Amazon was tripping anyway. But anyway, I had already made the decision. Not Amazon.
Oh, okay.
It was Zales.
Okay.
But
Zales.
it was who it was coming through, UPS or something, whatever it was, whatever transport was, it was. Anyway, regardless, I had already made a decision, so it wasn't like I was just like, oh man, what am I gonna do about this situation?
Now I'm stuck with her.
Right, I already made a decision to be stuck with her. So
interesting choice of words. But we found out in April.
Yeah, you pulled me down.
So then I went. Of course, I did all the things. I went to the doctor, and I can't remember how long it was, like 6-7 weeks, something like that. Anyway, and then I remember we had our first. My very first doctor's appointment. No, because that was like just the preliminary confirmation, like where you take the test there, and they're like, "All right, is it positive?" I remember that I went in and gave him the cup and everything, and the doctor was in there talking to me, and the nurse came in and was like, "Yeah, so you do have a UTI." I had a UTI, and she was like, "Yeah, you got a UTI," and the doctor was like, "So is it positive, like the test?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, she's pregnant." And I was like, I knew that because I took like 5 tests. But yeah, so she brought her little thing out. She's like, "Oh yeah, this will be your due date, and this is how many weeks and all this." I was like, "That doesn't look quite right." That will matter later on. But I was like, "That doesn't look quite right compared to my last period." But she was like, "No. No, you were there for the first ultrasound."
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, fast forward, I did that. I needed a form for like my insurance to get Medicaid. That's what it was. Because I didn't have any insurance. I was working. No, I think I was working full time at Zaxby's, but I didn't have that insurance. Or did I? I needed to supplement with Medicaid, so you had to have confirmation of pregnancy. Anyway, our first ultrasound was the Monday after Mother's Day. I remember because we went to Maryland. We were in Maryland for Mother's Day, and we told them that we got engaged. Oh, I forgot that part. We got engaged. It was probably a couple of days after I found out.
Yeah, it wasn't long after.
Yeah, we got engaged. Because in my mind thinking out, you ain't gotta marry me because I'm pregnant. But did I say yes? Yes, I did. Because in the back of my head, I was thinking, okay, yeah, I am gonna marry you. I am.
Need to move out of Auntie's house.
Oh yeah. I need to figure this out. Like we gotta do something.
You were still in school? No, you were.
No, I was done.
No, you were done by then.
But yeah, I was still.
Because you had started taking courses at the community college.
But yeah, that was back in 2012.
Okay.
That was like before, and then I went back to it.
Okay, yeah, then you would come back. All right, so you would come back for good.
So,
but still
so we got engaged. So when we were in Maryland, we told them that we were engaged, but I conveniently left out the fact that I was pregnant. Did not tell my parents, did not tell anybody, but, and in my mind I'm thinking, well, we'll wait till the first ultrasound. And then we went to the ultrasound the next day. I remember we drove back, we went straight there, and we went there, and I think it was like 9 or 10 weeks then.
Do you think people knew though, even though we?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
I don't think. No, I definitely don't think my parents thought that at all. I mean, at least they didn't say.
I don't know. In my mind, I'm just like, these youngins these days, y'all always be thinking that.
Well, anyway.
You're just pregnant. You look pregnant.
Well, no, that's probably what, like, your grandma would have said. Your grandma would have said that.
My grandma always thinks about it. She always thinks people pregnant with twins.
Yeah.
This is like her MO. She wake up thinking people pregnant with twins. I don't know why.
So, yeah.
You lost your question?
Yeah, I lost my thought.
Like you were talking about how you needed insurance or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
that's the ultrasound.
You forgot about the fact that we were engaged. We went upstate, told everybody we were engaged, but we left out that we were. Yeah.
So then.
We were pregnant. We were having a baby.
Yeah. But somewhere in between that time in May and June, I told my parents. I remember I told them over.
We told them.
Oh yeah, we were together.
See, I was there for that. I remember. There. See, you gotta not make me look like a complete deadbeat.
Yeah, it was over Uvu. I don't know if y'all remember Uvu. That's
Ooh,
like
that was our thing.
yeah, we would Uvu
That was
all
our
the time.
thing. That shouldn't have been our thing, but that was our thing.
Yeah.
That's probably why. See, I'm just saying. That's
You could get pregnant on video
you
chat.
can't get video, but you can do things that kissing, touching. This is touching leads to-
Okay, anyway.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like
We
Triple
told them
down.
on Uvu.
we did tell
And
them.
honestly, my parents, they didn't
It's the
freak out
old
or
school
anything.
FaceTime.
My dad was just like, y'all gonna get married?
Is that what he said? No, I think they kind of did like freak out. Not freak out, but just like, because it got quiet
Oh, they were
and the
fine.
camera moved. The camera moved. I didn't see their face for like a few seconds. Like, I can imagine they were just like,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. But I know my dad did ask us, like, that we would make sure, like, before. Oh, it may not have been then, but he did say before we moved in together, like,
Mhm.
y'all gonna get married, type thing.
Mhm.
Because we got married June 27th. So
Yeah.
that was,
Now I don't have to
May.
remember that date.
we had our ultrasound that right after Mother's Day, and then we got married June 27th. So we told them at some time in between there, and then we told the rest of our family, like, told his mom on Mother's Day, or no, it was like a week after Mother's Day because we gave her a Mother's Day card.
Oh yeah, we did do that. We
Yeah.
were so crafty. Why were we so trying to be so crafty?
Crafty.
We're just trying to find ways to, because I had forgot that we had already went up there and told them we were engaged, and it was just like,
Yeah, we told his mom first because I was like, that's easier. I just felt like that was gonna be easier than telling my
her
parents.
response. Was
Oh wait,
so
no, because
funny.
your dad was already in bed.
Yeah, he was in bed.
And
We
then
were
he
in the
got up.
living
He was
room.
like, "I already knew this."
Yeah.
I was like, "How did you know that?"
Because it probably happened in the back room. No, but seriously, like, her response was so funny to me. Her response, my mother's response was hilarious to me. She was just like, she opened the card up, and then it was like, what was it like? It was a Mother's Day call for grandma or something.
All right,
like
sorry, yeah, and we're like, sorry, it's late because it's like a week late.
That? Right.
And she was like, late.
Right. And then she just waited, and then she said, "Oh no!" She goes, "Oh no, no." She was like, She kept looking over there, and we were just like, "Yeah." It was so funny. But yeah, my pops, he was just like, "Yeah, I knew this or whatever." And he was just like, "You know your life over, right?"
He did not say that.
He did.
Oh.
He said, "You know your life over, right?" He was like, "Cause you know it's not about you." He's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's his little thing, his little spiel, I done heard it like 4 or 5 times. No, I only heard it once from Chris. I only heard it once from my
So
brother.
you want that 4 or 5 kids? I don't
No,
know.
I'm just joking. That was the experience with my parents.
Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, so then we got married June 27th. We moved here in our house. And yeah, we just kind of carried on, I guess. He was working, I was working, still at Zaxby's. And
management position, driving all the way to
yeah, I was
Virginia.
going all over the place,
She was
man.
going
I
for
was
the coast. She tried to
sick.
climb that corporate ladder.
The corporate ladder? Was it made out of chicken
Burgers and
fingers?
fries. Yeah, chicken
no,
fingers. They
there
don't
is
sell
no.
burgers.
Anyway, we're getting off topic. But yeah, and then we had a gender reveal, and we found out it was a little boy.
And I was like, I knew this already.
Yeah, he was convinced.
I already had the name.
We went to he already had his name, and we went to the ultrasound. I took my sister because he said he couldn't get off work. And
What?
yeah,
No way.
and then you surprised me because you were there.
Oh, okay.
He really told me he couldn't get off work. I was like, Joe, are you sure you cannot get off from this appointment? And he was like, no, I can't.
I wasn't working for myself then. So
Yeah, he wasn't
it was
working
hard.
first though then,
It was hard.
because it was in
I
Durham,
was on somebody else's
and it
truck,
was
too.
probably like
Brooks.
an hour.
Big ups to Brooks. He took me all the way over there.
Yeah. So anyway, he came, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was surprised, and then we went in there, and she put the thing on my stomach, and boop, sure enough, it was a little boy right there.
Mm-hmm. Boy.
And then we had our gender reveal party that weekend. And one thing I will say that I say to, like, I was going to say to families of people who've lost kids, or like the families of the mother and father, but I haven't really talked to that many, but I'm just saying in general that that's one thing that you just kind of have to remember and realize is that now these type of memories are like all they have. Like, that's it. So yeah, we had the gender reveal, and I think it might have been like July. I really can't remember it. But no, it had to be July because we got married June 27th, so it was only 3 days left in the month, and we didn't have anything else that month. So it was July. Yeah, so I was like, 20 weeks then. And fast forward to August, and I mean, things are going how they're going. You know, I was, having my appointments once a month. I had chosen to go with this, like, to this women's midwifery place. So, like, my appointments were different. Like, I met with a group of pregnant women and their partners, husbands, and, yeah, we would have, like, a little class each time. So that was interesting.
I was there.
And we got to listen to his heartbeat at the, class, and then we would have the time where we all sat together. I think we were like the youngest one, something.
It was one couple that was younger than us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was fun. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. So it was interesting, and yeah. So just kind of fast forwarding to August, like 20th, 18th, 19th, 20, something like that.
It was the 19th.
The 19th. Oh, okay. And I was at work. And actually, let me rewind a little bit. A couple weeks before, I was feeling like this weird pressure type feeling, and I was like really scared about it. I was like, I don't know, like that's really scaring me. I was freaking out. I called out of work, and I remember going to the doctor, and they hooked me up to a little monitor thing, and they were watching it and stuff like that. And he was like, just, kicking and stuff. But then they were looking at the little thing, and they're like, they saw one little raise or whatever. Because it was like a contraction monitor. And they're like, did you feel it? I was like, yeah, kind of. Like, but it wasn't like anything serious. They were like, okay, you're fine. So they sent me home. So fast forward back to this day. And I'm having like more pressure and kind of like pains on and off. And I'm thinking they're like Braxton Hicks types things. And one of my coworkers even said, girl, because I was like over in the corner just kind of like standing still because I was like having a pain. And she was like, girl, if you think this is bad, you wait for real labor. And I was like, I guess. But I wasn't like timing them or anything. Because I'm thinking, no, it's not anything serious. So when I got home, I wasn't having pain. I wasn't even really in pain. I was just having like this weird pressure like on and off. And I was like, oh, I know what it is. At some point in that time, he came home. But I was like, oh, I know what it is. I gotta use the restroom. I really feel like I gotta use the restroom. Now I know, But then I was like, I just gotta use the restroom. I went to go to the restroom, and yeah, I felt like he was coming, like I could feel like the water, because my water didn't break, and I was like, oh my god, and I was like kind of like bleeding a little bit, and I was freaking out because I was like, oh my goodness, I'm like 23 weeks or something like that at the time, and I was like, oh, this is not like way too early, like this could not happen, like. So I went and told him, and I called the midwife or whatever, and I was like, I don't remember what I said. I just know I was freaking out. And she was like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. And the hospital we were supposed to go to was in Durham, which is like, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour from here. And I was, by this time, now I was in pain because literally, I guess at this point, I'm about to give birth. So like literally it's like everything is right there. The pressure is like on. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, by this point, I'm hurting. So I was like, oh God. So we drive, and we're going towards Henderson because that's just the way we would go anyway. And I remember getting to the like turn where you could either get on 85 and go to Durham, or we could go right here to this hospital that's right in front of us. And I remember like, I don't know what to do. I just know that I'm hurting. And I was like, just go right here. And we went right there. And let me tell you, never again. But yeah, we went right there, and they wheeled me in. They were asking me all these questions and trying to. I'm like, ma'am, I do not care a lick about what you're talking about. And she was like, okay. And then she let him push me up to the upstairs. What do you remember what you were thinking during this time?
Now, honestly, it's just, I guess you can say at that point, kind of helpless, but not so much as I felt helpless later on. But it was just really a feeling of confusion because I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, it was shouldn't have been like go back to ground zero. There was no way we should have been doing anything in the first place to even have a baby because I know nothing of female anatomy. I'm just like a novice at it. Like I don't know nothing. So it's like being in that situation where it's like I don't know what's going on with her body. You know, she at this point barely knows what's going on with her body. So I'm like, I have no clue what's going on. Lack of knowledge for one, and I mean, all I'm doing is like the whole time I'm just like, man, you know, barely praying honestly because I'm just so confused. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. You know, we're driving there, she's in pain. And I'm like, in my mind thinking, ain't no way we're gonna make it to Durham. But so it was kind of a relief to stop because I'm like, at least we can get some type of help. But I don't know what's going on. I mean, one minute we're trying to put mirrors up in the house, next minute she's using the bathroom and she's in pain and she's like really in pain. So I can tell it's like hurting. It's not like a little cramp or something. It's like she's hurting. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. So yeah, even then when we were there at the hospital, I'm just like kind of trying to be as supportive as I possibly can, but for the most part, just like trying to figure out think what's going on, but I don't know anything, so
yeah,
kind of helpless.
So then we get up to the room. It's all kind of like a little bit of a blur too. Like we got up to the room, the nurse or doctor came in and they like checked or whatever, and they said, "Girl, you about to have this baby." And I'm like, no, can't, not time, right. Not at all, not time. And I don't know. To this day, I don't know what made this woman think this was a good idea. She decided that it was time to break my water because it was just, I don't know. She was like, yeah, the baby's coming, so we're going to go ahead and break your water. And looking back, I don't even think she was the doctor, because the doctor came in later and was like, I remember him being like, why, like, but yeah, she broke my water, and then I was fine. Like, I didn't feel any more pain. And yeah, she was like waiting. She was like, okay, well, we'll come, because she thought when she broke my water that he would just come, but he didn't. And she was like, okay, well, press the button if you feel any pain. I remember I pressed it like one time because I wasn't sure what I was feeling, but she was like, no, because I think after they broke my water, I think I would like close back up and I was like back to like 2 centimeters. I don't remember what it was, but I just remember it was like not as pressing, I guess. Like it didn't feel pain. And yeah, so that's when they decided to send me to Duke, which is in Durham. So
they had to do that flight.
Yeah, so they flew me to Durham. That's very interesting.
We're driving.
Only time I've ever been to
I could see
in
the
a
helicopter.
Oh, you could see the helicopter?
Yeah, it was like, I felt like I was like a Wi-Fi or something. Just did it. Helicopter just going.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, so they had their doctors come, and those that was on the helicopter, it's like she was like, I'm here just in case when you deliver the baby on this helicopter. And I was like, oh Lord, I hope not. But by that time they had like pumped me full of steroids. I had like IVs in both hands. They had pumped me full of steroids, trying to like make it help his lungs. They had other stuff. They were trying to stop the labor. It was just a lot. But I'm like, okay, but I don't have a water. Like they broke it, so it was like this can't go on forever. But at the same time, I was trying to have hope that maybe like I could go, I don't know, however long. And yeah. Anyway, we get flown to Duke, and so I didn't have the baby on the helicopter. Yeah, one last thing I do remember about being in the hospital in Henderson is that there was somebody giving birth across the hall, and I remember hearing her like screaming. She was like screaming, and then it was like all of a sudden it was like quiet, and we just heard this like little baby crying, and I was like, wow. I was like, wow, like, you know, that is supposed to be me, but that's not supposed to be me right now. It's supposed to be me in like another, you know, what, 3-4 months, you know? So it was like, oh gosh, it's just a very weird feeling. But yeah, we went to Duke, and I remember the doctor or nurse, one of the first people I talked to at Duke, she was like, why did they break her water? And I was like, why are you asking me? Like, call up your counterparts at this hospital and ask them. I was like, oh, so that's not what y'all would have done? She was like, no. She said that they would have tried to push it back up, which I think sounds kind of painful. But hey, it would have been better because I would have, you know, still had the water intact. But yeah, we were at Duke, and we were there for, I guess, 5 days. Just kind of like hanging out. I didn't go any further into labor, and yeah, I can still feel him moving and kicking and stuff. That it was just the main thing the doctor said to me was, you're at a high risk for an infection because there's no water, everything's kind of open down there, and no, I think that was the main thing. There was a high risk for infection, and it's not. They just weren't sure if he could make enough water because, you know, it's made from them urinating. But they didn't know if it could make enough to be able to sustain him. So yeah, it was very uneventful for a little while.
Worst week of my life.
For me, it was uneventful. So, yeah. So, were you working?
I mean, no, I had called the my supervisor and told them that, you know, what was going on. That I didn't know what was going on, honestly. Yeah, and they pretty much, you know, thank the Father. They clearly, you know, take care of what I need to take care of. So I mean, but I didn't get paid for that week. But you know, we taken care of, so it's all good. You know, so I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it was that whole thing was rough, and still to me that kind of was a blur. I mean, when you just say like, oh yeah, we were there for 5 days, I'm like, dang, like wow, we really were there for, you know, the better part of a week. You know, that whole, you know, sequence, and yeah, it was a lot. You know? So yeah, it was definitely a blur. We try to make the best of it. I'm just glad you weren't in, you know, so much pain. You know?
Yeah, because I think no, I was about to say I thought I had that epidural, but no, I didn't. Because so this is what they told me. They told me I had 2 options. That I could get epidural, could just wait and let just have him naturally, and he most likely wouldn't live, but I would just have him naturally. I remember one guy
saying that he would have like a lot of brain issues or something like that if he did.
Yeah. There was like, this is the thing. There was like 3 or 4 different doctors, and they were saying 3 or 4 different things, and it was confusing.
Yeah.
So they told me that I could have him like that, but he could possibly make it. He might not make it. Then there was one who said, no, if you're gonna have him, you need to have a C-section. Actually, no. Yeah, no, it was 2 different doctors. And yeah, but anyway.
Didn't one try to convince you that it was a good idea to just go ahead and...
I don't remember that.
Remember? This guy with a bald head? I thought he was trying to tell you to just...
Well... Don't really remember that.
I think, because I remember you saying, no, you had faith that everything's going to work out the way that...
I did say that. I said that a couple times, because there's one thing about some of y'all with these MBs on the end of y'all name. I think that when you get them extra letters, you drop them from the alphabet and you forget how to talk to people. Because I'm just, like, anyway. It wasn't. Anyway.
Yeah, the occupational physician. I mean, I don't hold anything against those who take that route, but yeah, I think you still got to know how to deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because that whole event and sequence, it really left a bad taste in my life for, you know, not the occupation itself, but just, you know, certain people that I always have my guard up when you say, oh, doctor. I see that white coat, I always got my guard up.
Yeah.
You know, from then on out, anytime we dealt with a doctor or somebody in that occupation, I've always been like real firm. You know.
Yeah, and I think for me, it hasn't. I'm a little more trusting, but yeah. So yeah, we were at Duke, and I do remember the day that everything kind of changed. He was at work because my sister was there, and they told me I had an infection, which they kind of, you know, warned me that might happen, and that this needs to go ahead and happen. Like, he needs to be warned. Remember how I said that the weeks would come back because what my original doctor told me, I was like 23 weeks and like 4 days or something like that. But then I was like, but that doesn't sound right. And then they told me, I do. No, you're like 22 weeks in some days. And I'm like, that's what I was trying to tell the doctor that like 4 months ago. But that's not, anyway. So, but the doctor at Mariah Parham, I just dropped the hospital we were at. She told me that, no, you're 24 weeks. We're telling them that you're 24 weeks. I guess because that's how they consider viability. So they're like, you know, they'll fight harder if they think, you know, you're 24 weeks. I'm like, girl, isn't this paperwork, in this chart? Like, how you gonna lie? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, they knew. Yeah. So they told me, like, I had an infection, and there was something going on with his arm because, you know, I guess his arm had started to come down, and yeah, his arm wasn't in good shape. So they were like, you know, he needs to go ahead and be born. So they were like, that's when they said, like, you have these two options. You can get the epidural, some Pitocin, and go ahead and deliver him naturally, or we can do a C-section to, you know, see if we can save him. And I was like, you need to do what you need to do to save him. And it just kind of went from there. And he came, and I do remember this lady put in this IV. She was putting an IV in my hand, another IV, and she was like, you know, you're so brave. A lot of women lose their first child, and they go through this, and they go on to have healthy children and stuff like that. I'm like, girl, we haven't even had this one yet. Can you shh? Like, I really was like, really, I was getting upset. I was like, we haven't even finished this yet, and you're talking about. Anyway, so she did that. And actually, I think my sister said that, because I don't think I just looked at her, and my sister was like, well, we're trying to save him. You know, like, we're trying to, you know, do what we can for him. You know? But anyway, yeah, so everything happened really quickly from there. They gave me that really nasty stuff to drink to, you know, kill all your stomach acid and stuff. And yeah, from there, they told me I needed to have a classical C-section, which is like a C-section where they cut you horizontally outside but vertically inside. And they were like, from now on, if you have more kids, you can never go into labor again. You have to have C-sections from here on out, because you can't go into labor because you could have a higher risk of having uterine rupture and all those things. And I was like, do it. Like, just do it. Like, we just gotta do what we gotta do. Yeah. So, from there, they just wheeled me back into the room, and I was freaking out. I was like, y'all keep telling me that my husband's coming, but I don't know if I believe you. Do not forget, because I don't want to be in here by myself. So they had to wheel me in. They did a spinal, so I'm like this, and they put the needle in your back, and you can't move because then it'll paralyze you, which just blows my mind. That they want you to, like, not move while they stick you with something, and then, but yeah, anyway, they did that. They did a spinal instead of an epidural. And then I started bleeding, and I was like, what the world is going on? And one of the doctors in there was like, it's normal to have some bleeding for someone in your predicament. And I was like, I feel like I'm almost bleeding a lot. And I was like, nah, something's not right here. And then by then, they got me laid down, arms out. And I just went, of course, dead from here down. But I felt like I was pushing or something. I was like, I'm bearing down. Something's like, but it's literally wasn't I was bearing down. It was just numb. They had students in there. It was a lot of people. Yeah. So he was not happy about that.
I was not at all.
And yeah, so then they proceeded to do the C-section, and they kept asking me if I was in pain and stuff like that. And I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what was going on. So I think at one point I said yes, and they gave me more medicine. And I just remember falling asleep. And while I was asleep, I saw like this. I was in this meadow. It was warm, and it was like sunny and warm, and I was just like running through this meadow, and it was so peaceful. Like I can't even explain it. It was like I was in this meadow, and it was just peaceful, and but I'm sure that's not how it was from your point of view.
Not what it was on the other end, no. Yeah, it was not what I was experiencing on the other end. Yeah, it was, no. I wish I could have been with you in that meadow. Mm-hmm. It was just loud and a bunch of beeping and a bunch of people talking. And like she said, with students in there, people on internships. And I'm just like, this is not the time for interns to be like, she ain't no test dummy. Mm-hmm. Like, what are y'all doing? You know, it was not good. But of course, you gotta let them do the job. Cause what do you know? Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know anything. And yeah, that whole experience was just terrible. I wish it on no man.
So, what I kept thinking to myself throughout this whole process is that when he's born, I just want to hear him cry. If I hear him cry, then I'll know that he's living, you know, and he's okay. I just want to hear him cry. I kept thinking that. But when he was born, he didn't cry. So I didn't hear anything. So I was like, that's not good. And I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be good from there. And I just remember this, I want to say she was blonde. She was, because I had met her before the surgery. I was thinking, like, how would I know she had a cap on? But I had met her before. I don't remember any of these doctors' names. I barely remember what they looked like. But I just remember that she had glasses and she was blonde. She's the one who brought him over. And I was, like, really doped up at this time. And I was just in and out. But she brought him to Joel. And that's when she was all like, I'm sorry, you know. He's not going to make it, things like that. And she handed him to you.
Yeah, she brought him over. She was like, you know, I'm sorry. And she was like, he's perfect. And she handed him to me. And, you know, even though he didn't cry, there was still a sign of life, because they call it breath of life for a reason, you know. So I'm grateful, you know, that I was able to experience those moments with him. Just looking at him and seeing this, you know, just seeing him breathing. I could see him breathing in his chest. He was just laying in my arms, my little son. Yeah. So that moment, I wouldn't trade anything for that. Even though it was just only for just a couple minutes. I guess it was a couple minutes, but to me it just felt like, I'm gonna say a lifetime. That sounds cheesy, but it just seemed, at that moment I did feel like I was in that meadow. Because it was just
I was in and out of the meadow.
Yeah, so he was just there in my arms. And, yeah, so I'll never forget that. You know, and the peace I felt in that moment, I'll never forget it. You know? So, but I think, so did she hand it to me, or did she hand it to you after that? Or?
Well, I was still like laid out and stuff.
I do remember you holding him, right?
Yeah, I definitely held him, but I think it was like more so after. I think they gave him to me like after they put me on they were reeling me back to the room. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they finished up the surgery and stuff like that, and Joel was holding him. Mm-hmm. And I think by that time, our families had started to come.
Yeah, that was tough. That was real tough. Having to tell everybody and just see the shock on everyone's faces. It's like, I remember your aunt coming in and she's just ready to see little Timothy. She came in. I had to walk out and just tell her. Didn't make it. Just instantly, she just broke down. Like, almost fell on the floor. So having to tell everybody that and go in the room and walk in there with my father sitting there, your sister sitting there. They're waiting to hear the news about, about little Timothy. Just had to walk in there. Everyone's quiet, looking at me, all eyes on me, and I just had to say, we didn't make it. And at that point, I felt like a little baby too, because my pops got up and I had to go over and hug. No. And of course, he, no, it's okay, son, it's okay, everything. So, sister, just seeing her so sad, it just hurts seeing everybody sad like that, And then, of course, again, me feeling like terrible because there's nothing I could do. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties. The battery was like on like 2%. We had to charge this thing for a second. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a good thing that happened. Otherwise, we would have been over here like, oh God, no. Okay, but it was trying to pick up where we left off. It was kind of difficult, having to relay the information that our son has just passed to our family when they're expecting good news, tidings of great joy, and you have to go in and say, he didn't make it, so that kind of gave me just a completely new perspective on just life, because just to have to tell people that you love that you lost someone that you love but never knew, mm-hmm. It's a really sticky, tough situation mentally, and but yeah, that's something that another thing that I'll never forget. Like I said, it was a blur. The whole 5 days was kind of like a blur, but that being able to hold him for those moments, and then to have to relay that information to our family, our loved ones, those two things I will never forget as long as I live. I can have dementia, I'll probably never forget. Still, I'll probably always remember that. But I know you probably can remember a whole lot more about everything that went down. But those two things, I'll never forget.
I don't remember. I didn't experience that at all. Like, as far as telling anybody, because I was in the room. Like, I just had major surgery. So that was like a whole nother thing. So it's like you have emotional pain and you have physical pain. Because, you just got your stomach cut up, 2 different ways. And so, I just remember, like, just being in pain, but being, like, kind of numb at the same time. And just, like, being out of it, really. I still had a lot of drugs in my system, of course. But just kind of emotionally, just, like, not being able to just come to terms, like, with what just happened. Like, wow, like, this is happening. Like, this is, like, really happening. Mm-hmm. And, I was holding him and stuff. And, I just remember being in the room and then having, people come in and out. My parents had to come from Maryland. And I think my aunt, I'm not sure exactly who told them. Because I was thinking we just wait till they got there. But my aunt said, no, we need to tell them, before they get here, like, kind of what's going on. So I'm not exactly sure who told them. But somebody in the family did. And I remember just being in the room and just, like, just holding him, just looking at him. And, like, of course, he's not doing anything because, it's just quiet. And it's just, I can't even, like, begin to explain the feeling. It's just, like, it's quiet. And it's a quiet that you can't describe. It's just, it's a heavy, deep, dark, personal quiet. And so our families just kind of came in and out. I really can't remember who did what and when. I do remember when my parents got there, because he was by my side the whole time. And he kept asking me if I was fine. And I told him I was okay. Like, I think I had cried on and off, but I kind of stopped, I guess. But when they got there, that's kind of when things changed, because I just remember, like, my mom walking in, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, he was supposed to be okay, like, this is not making sense to me. Like, he was supposed to be okay, and he's not okay. And I just remember, like, sitting on the bed and just kind of like, I don't know how she was holding me, but she was. And that just kind of like, that was a very raw moment. Like, he is not okay, and I don't understand, like, how he's not okay. And yeah, so my parents were there, and I remember my dad doing, like, kind of a dedication type thing with him, like a prayer, and dedicating him, to the Father. Even though that's where, he already was. But yeah, so I stayed in the hospital, I guess another day, I think.
Yeah.
And they just were monitoring me, making sure that, I guess I didn't have fevers, didn't have, different things going on. And we just spent as much time as we could, and that's what I was saying before about the memories. Like, that's all you have. Like, just a few minutes ago, I was trying to post, a happy birthday to him. And it's always the same pictures, because it's all we have. It's the same pictures from when he was born and when he died, and from the funeral, or if we've gone back to the grave over the years. That's all we have, So it's just kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but you just feel kind of stuck, as you look at other parents, and as their kids are getting older, and they're having birthdays, and they're having, like, their little cake, and they got cake all over their face, or they're doing different things for their birthdays, and opening their gifts and stuff like that. It's just like, well, you're just stuck with the same pictures of your deceased child, and that's all you have. Like, he would be 7, running around today on his birthday with his cousins, eating his Spider-Man cupcakes. I'm sure even if he didn't like Spider-Man, Joel would make him get Spider-Man
no choice.
cupcakes.
No
And having his cake and ice cream. And my family, even though they live in Maryland and it's a Thursday night, I'm sure my mom would be here, if not today, tomorrow, and it would be a whole thing, but instead it's quiet. And it's that same quiet. But yeah, so we left the hospital. That was very interesting. I remember leaving and someone in the hallway asking, well, where's the baby? Yeah, I remember that. I didn't answer them. There were some things that I thought at the time. I was thinking, like, well, why don't you go down to the morgue and visit him? That's what I wanted to say to him. I didn't say that, but I did think it. And yeah, so we left the hospital, and we honestly went straight, like really straight to the funeral home, because we actually had to, so we said goodbye at the hospital. They came and got him. That was a lot. I do remember my family being there for that. That was a lot. Because then it's like, really, you're not gonna hold him again. So I remember that being a lot. But yeah, so they came and they got him. But then, yeah, when we left the hospital, we went straight to the funeral home to get everything together, make arrangements, and all that stuff. So, we did get to see him there, and got to hold him in, like, this little itty-bitty box, And it's just weird, because it's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is he in this little box? Like, what am I supposed to do with this box? I just remember I was in like, I had on 3 different nightgowns and a shawl. Like I know I looked crazy because I was so cold and I couldn't stop shivering, and it was just, you know, I had the physical pain from the C-section, and it was just a whole lot going on. But we got everything, you know, set up for the arrangements, and we decided we were going to have the service like a couple days later.
Yeah, it wasn't many days after that.
Yeah, so that's what we set everything up so we could have his service then. Yeah, so the in-between is also a very interesting place. Family is in and out all the time. I remember Joel's cousin came over, she did my hair, and they, you know, thought I was still pregnant, and I remember kind of being upset about that because I was like, Joel, can you make sure everybody knows? And he's like, at the same time, I look back on it like, well, like he's very much going through this too. Like he hasn't had time to like sit there and tell every single family member, you know. But I just remember not wanting to have to tell anybody myself. But before we even came home, they came and I told them I wanted all the stuff that we had put in the back room out. The car seat, we had a little bassinet, all that stuff. I wanted that out. Yeah. So, yeah, it was just family in and out the house, and just, you know, it was good, I guess, to be able to have that support. But it's still so lonely. Like, it just, like, you're here. Yes, you're here, but you're like not here because you're not in here. Like, you cannot be in here. So you really can't tell me, you know, how I feel or what you know about how I feel, because you're not in here and you can't take this. So yeah, the day of the service, I honestly barely remember it. I just remember going. I remember I wanted there to be flowers. I told Timothy there's going to be flowers, like he cared. But yeah, and I just remember like them this driving down because it was like a graveside event, and they had the chairs for us, like there was 2 chairs for us, like kind of like right in front of the little small casket, and yeah, we just got out of the car and like it was silent, you know. There's a lot of people. Yep. And I just remember like, wow, there's like a lot of people here who actually really, you know, care. So yeah, it was full, I guess you could say it. And yeah, I don't remember much of the service. I don't know if you do. I remember I kind of held it together pretty good, but then Joel and his brothers sang, and I remember kind of like just being like, this is not happening, you know, type thing. And I remember my sister came over and she was like trying to hug me and stuff, and I was like, no, just, I don't know what I wanted her to do. I wanted her to stop touching me because I don't want you to console me because I don't want this to be happening, type thing. You know, like this is not real. This is not happening. And you trying to console me in this moment is making it too real. So that was a moment. And my mom came over. Of course, like I, for the rest of my life, will always believe there is nothing like your mom's hug or your mom's touch, because like I just remember her coming over and it was just like, okay.
You hear that, husbands? Nothing like a mother's touch. Well, nothing you do about it.
Well, I'm sorry. It's just, well, that's the way I feel. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but also you were singing, so you really didn't do much. But yeah, so then we kind of
wrapped up
the service, and then everybody was moving to Taj Mahal and stuff like that. And I was going to walk up there, but my mom was like, no, you get in the car. You just have major abdominal surgery. And it was like, okay, it was a lot of people. It was a lot of different things going on. I think Joe had already went inside or something.
I ain't going inside because I had to hold you because you passed out.
Well, yes, but I thought my dad was right there.
That was me.
But my dad was there too.
He might have came over or whatever, but we were walking together over to the car or whatever, and that's when.
Yeah, I just remember looking back at the like grave, and they were putting the box in there, and I just felt like they were being very rough with it. Yeah, and I was like just shocked, and I just kind of fell out a little bit, and I just remember like, yeah, but. I know you were right there, but I remember my dad like shoving me in the car, kind of, because you were like, because I remember my cousin was standing right there, and she was like, I remember leaning on her, and she was like, yeah, it's just, it's a lot. She was like rubbing my back and stuff, and then she said something, and then my dad came over, and then they like not shoved me in the car, but like he was like, I don't know where he got that strength from. He was like, boom, and like he just put me in the car, and then Joel drove us up to the parking lot area out of the graveyard, and then we went inside. And I was okay, honestly, for the rest of the day. It was just getting through that. That's hard,
Yeah, stuff.
Yeah. And then afterwards, of course, family comes back over and things like that. And of course, for a while, they're, in and out, they're checking on you, making sure, you're as, I guess, okay as you can be. And yeah, so that kind of wraps up sort of like what happened, and then moving through the funeral and things like that. So since then, like, well, now it's been 7 years now, and like I mentioned, each year we would always try to do something, but that first year, I guess I could say, was really the hardest. And I don't mean like the first birthday, I mean that whole year. It's the hardest, but it's the most real, if that makes sense. Because you have so many different emotions going on, and a lot of sadness in and out of time. Like, it just comes and it goes, it ebbs and it flows, and it's just like, ooh, like, good gracious, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this. And yeah, so, but at the same time, it's so real because you feel exactly what you feel, and you don't care what anybody has to say about it or what anybody thinks about it. Like, no, this is just what I feel, and it's raw, and it's really pure. It's just what it is, and you could just take it or you don't, and that's just it, and that's how I really felt about a lot of things. Like, it put so much in perspective in my life, like that for that year. Of course, as time goes on, you kind of, unfortunately, you fall back into the patterns of, old thinking, I guess you could say, as you start to get better. But yeah, that first year, you're like, what you think? What do you mean? Why would I care what you think? Do you know what I've just been through? Do you know what I just went through? And you think I care what you think about anything I do in my life? Like, that's just kind of where I can speak for myself. But yeah, at the same time, I think it was a decent, I don't know if decent's a good word, but a decent year for us. Like, we were pretty close, I guess, as close as we could be.
Yeah, it's I will say, I know we deal with things differently. I don't know if you can attribute that to us being the opposite sex, but I mean, we're just different people, so we deal with, you know, things differently. So, you know, for me, I don't know. I just think naturally, I'm kind of a extrovert in a sense. But I will say, when something like this happens, like this is real. Like this whole thing is real. And you know, first of all, I don't believe that anyone doesn't believe in a higher. Like I don't believe there's any one person in this world that doesn't believe in a higher power, even if you put yourself in that position. So, you know, not to get spiritual or anything, but this is what I believe. That even if you put yourself in that position of being, you know, the higher power, mentally, that's what you think. I don't believe there's anyone who doesn't believe that. So, me saying that, my point being, I just believe that even what you believe down to your faith, whether it's in yourself or higher power, whatever, even that is shaken when something like this transpires. So, you know, but so just saying that to say me being naturally an individual who would be considered probably more so an extrovert, just dealing with, even having to deal with something like this, it just changes, you know. And it's like, I don't really want to be around people. I don't really want people to be talking to me about it. I don't really want, you know, that's not how I wanted to deal with it. Whereas before I would feel like I would want to be around people, just get off my mind, you know, whatever. But it's just something that you know, you just have to deal with it in your own way, really. But I in those moments, like within that, I guess you say first 2 years, whatever, like anytime I would start feeling that pain and thinking of all the things that we went through, all that, it just it's something that I just wanted to be alone, you know. I didn't want to be, of course I was fine with her around, but it's just, I just didn't want to, because we went through it together, so, you know, it's not anything I can hide from her feelings and all. I can't really hide anything from her. She knows the whole story. So, you know, but other people, you know, I just didn't want to be, when I start feeling like that, I kind of just wanted to be to myself, excluding her, you know. So, but yeah, it's, but yeah, I think we were, you know, I said on that note, I think we were kind of still good and, you know, close during that time, even though we were I felt as though we were dealing with it a little bit differently. I don't think it's something that pushed us or separated us, pushed us apart, you know, in dealing with it.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, I feel like we just kind of had an understanding, like an unspoken understanding, because we didn't like really, I don't want to say we talked about it that much, but we just kind of had an unspoken understanding. Yeah. And then those firsts are a lot, you know. So it was August when he was born, and then we had all the firsts that were coming right there. You know, you had Thanksgiving. I mean, we had first you had Halloween, but it's not like at the time we thought a little bit differently. So I might have put him in a little something, you know. Then Thanksgiving, and then at the time Christmas, and it was just like, you know, there's all those things, and it's just like his due date came, which was supposed to be December, and that was like, you know, honestly, I know for some people it can be a little bit more heart-wrenching. For me, it was heart-wrenching, but I don't know, I didn't really associate his due date with him. I think also because of the fact that they had the week so, you know, convoluted that I wasn't really sure anyway. But anyway, yeah. So then you have that, and then New Year, and then you have my birthday in March, and then Mother's Day, Father's Day, all the different days. And it just comes at you like, and it's like, it's the rawness. It hits every time, and it's like, I don't know how to handle this. And then you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, like I still feel what I feel, but it's like, I'm starting to want to put it away, because it's like, well, it's been this long and stuff like that. So like, how are other people going to react to me? You know, how do they handle me? Like on Mother's Day, you know, it was just like, I don't know how to handle myself, you know, and like let alone how these people are going to handle me. And then, yeah, so it's just a lot. It definitely is a lot. And you just kind of, pick up the pieces day by day. And yeah, that's really kind of how we kind of got through the first year, I would say, and I guess all the years since then. It's just as time keeps passing by, it just, I don't know, for us, it's really because we have the Holy Spirit, and we have the comfort of the Holy Spirit, that we can rest in that, that it just becomes easier, or it becomes just more peaceful, because there's a time when I'm thinking back, like, oh, now it's April, like this is around the time I found out I was pregnant. Like, I'm thinking, like, throughout from April to August, like, oh, I was pregnant this time, and this is what I'm saying? So it's like your brain kind of falls into this cycle where you're thinking about, okay, this is when I was pregnant, and this is after he died, like, so really, if you think like that, you get stuck there. Then my brain was only really not thinking as hard about it from like January to March, So I don't know. It's a lot, because when I know that might not make sense, but like if you break down a year, April pregnant, August not pregnant, then August to December, that kind of breaks, that's just a year, you know what I'm saying, the end of that year. So then from January to March, even though it's still after he's gone, it's like my brain isn't as thinking about it as heavily, because it wasn't a time where I was pregnant, and it was kind of the before. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just the way that my brain started getting acclimated to it. And so I would just say, since then, it was just figuring out really just kind of how to continuously heal, because there's no, like, I don't think there's like an arriving at healing, I guess, per se, but to continuously heal is, again, like I mentioned, taking your feelings as they are and as they come, and just acknowledging them for what they are and how they come. And then just being able to learn how to breathe, because I think that's one of the things that I just remember very clearly is like, it's so hard to breathe, and like breathing is so simple and second nature, like we do it all the time. But when there's something that like that's that heavy on you, it's so hard to breathe. And I don't know if that makes sense, but like clearly you're breathing because you're still living, but your breaths are different. It's like you have two different breaths. There's like the breath of surviving, and then there's the breath of living. So it's easy to breathe to survive, but it's very hard to breathe to live when you're going through that. When you're going through that level of like grief, and just like your feelings are so raw. So over time, it's having those breaths be the same again. Learning how to breathe the same. So that's the first thing. And the second thing was like just kind of learning how to deal with anger. I mean, I know they said they had the 5 stages of grief and stuff like that. I don't know. I can't really say I went through all of them. I probably did at some point, but definitely anger, yeah, got to a point, literally said in my head, like, that I hated God. And I immediately was like, oh, wait. I did not mean that. But I remember thinking that at the time, because I was just like, I was so mad. I was like, I am 22 years old. I don't have really any health issues. This should have been textbook. Like, this should have been easy. Like, what do you like? And then he's gone, and you just like took him. Like, why? You know, why? Like, why was that necessary? Like, he should be here. He should be like right under our nephew. This should be our nephew, then him, then our other nephew, niece. You know, it should be like no, I got that backwards. Niece, nephew. But it should, that's how it should be, you know? And this is not, so I was very angry about that. Like, no, like that I don't feel like I can accept this, you know? I don't feel like I should have to accept this. So, and it's not like a rational anger, I would say. It's like an anger that you don't feel about anything else. It's like it's anger that you can't really even do much with, because there's not really any way to fix it, you know? So I would say dealing with that just comes by being able to be willing to let it go, because there's very much a part of us that will hold on to it in order to feel something, because you can be very much numb or very much in pain, and it's much easier and fiery to be angry than it is to be pained and cold, if that makes sense, or pained and numb. So you'd much rather be fiery and angry, because that feels like action instead of just taking what has been given to you type thing. But little do you know, then once you release it, you actually feel much better. But it's a trick to make you think that you need to hold on to this to feel anything. But the trick of it is, once you let it go, it's just another step to feeling better. But yeah,
it's a process.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. And just from my end, there's always that are some days that are easier than others. And it's like that's the hard part. To this day, that's the hardest part to me, is not knowing how you're gonna feel on a certain day, like Mother's Day. Like, this is what that was the sixth Mother's Day, I guess, technically, and it's like, okay, you don't know how you're gonna feel, and I did not feel, you know, good this past Mother's Day. I was upset this past Mother's Day, and I was angry this past Mother's Day, and I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't be going down this road anymore. But you just, again, you have to take, when your feelings come, you have to take them and accept them for what they are, and then you put one foot in front of the other, and then you live to see the Monday after. Or like today, I went to work today, and I was like, am I gonna cry at work today? Oh, that's what I was thinking. I'm gonna try to work. It's like, am I gonna cry at work today? And I was like, my goal is to try not to cry at work today. But at the same time, I was thinking, and so what if I do cry at work today? You know? But I didn't, and I was okay today, you know? And I knew that we were gonna come home and do this, and I just feel ready for this. But yeah, there's fluctuations to, you know, your feelings, and you just kind of have to take them as they come. But I would say, while you take them, don't give in to them, because when you start giving in to them, you can get lost in them. And once you get lost in them, that's when it's really hard to come back. So you take your feelings as they come and you accept them for what they are and what I'm feeling right now. And I need to cry right now, or I need to be angry right now. I need to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about it. I might have a little bit of attitude, and I'm going to be what I am right now. But I'm not going to stay there either. So I would say that's been the journey over the past 7 years, and there's a lot of things that happened in the 7 years in between, and we're not going to go into all of them. A lot of things that happened and transpired, even between us, things that changed and probably, definitely had to do with some like what we went through. Like there's always going to be different emotions and things that we need to figure out how to deal with, and I can't say we always did those things the right way. And it was a lot of ups and downs, and my goal is for us to make more videos and to talk and really get into some of those things. But at the end of the day, they all led to where we're sitting right now. So this has gotten a little longer than I even expected, but yeah, I just want to make it clear that this is just not something that we did on our own. Definitely 100% not the case. Speaking for myself, I would not be alive if it wasn't for the relationship that I've built with God over the years. I would not be alive. That's just it. I would not have the peace I have if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't have the joy that I have if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't have anything that I have if it wasn't for him. I would not be able to sit here right now feeling at peace and whole in my heart without him. And that's truly how I feel. Like for a while, there's a certain level of emptiness that you feel, and it's an ache, and it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's an ache, and it's cold, and it's wet. It's like a wet cloth. An empty wet cloth is like inside your heart type thing, and it's damp, and it's painful, and it rubs, and it's just but what I can say is that having that relationship with him, he ever so gently just snatched the cloth, and he was like, okay, let me give you this warm, soft blanket to fill that space. Let me make it whole, and let me give you rest. It's very much hard to rest in a cold, damp cloth. If that makes sense. That probably doesn't make any sense. But that's just kind of how I see it in my head. That he took what was very painful and unbearable and made it warm. And yeah, and that's just kind of where I am now. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I would just say there is just on that point that, I mean, you mentioned earlier about the Holy Spirit. There is, there's a difference when you're going through things and you have given your life to, your Creator, and you've actually, made a commitment that you're going to build a relationship with Him. And this, and that's for what we believe. Encouraging that Holy Spirit it's different, and the scripture makes it gives a metaphor many times about, you know, the attributes of the Holy Spirit. When he comes in, he gives you these different attributes, and it likens them to fruit. I don't know if anybody ever grew anything, has grown anything, had a garden or anything, but when you when you grow, there's you reap, and you sow, then you reap, you have a harvest, and you have fruit, you know. But you know, when things actually work out, you know, you have something good, something that you can have nourishment from, you know, versus when it doesn't work out and you have you know, you have a lot of dead, you know, plants or whatever, what have you, and you have nothing, you know, nourishment. But, you know, one of those attributes that like is in the fruit is long suffering. And I'll just say that when, you know, patience, you know, and some people may say, yeah, well, I got patience, I don't have to have any Holy Spirit or whatever the case is. And I just have to be straight up and honest. Like I mean, I'm here, I'm living here, and it's different. I'm here to tell you that it is a world of difference when you have incurred the Holy Spirit, and your Creator shares that with you, and He gives you the Holy Spirit. Like it's a world of difference. So, like she was saying, you know, dealing with it without Him and without His Spirit, it would be a completely different scenario. And there's a old proverb as well that kind of helped me through. And I say anybody else going through this, that's one thing. If you don't have that, then it's going to be a lot more difficult. Whether you say, hey, I don't need that, I can endure and I can have, but yeah, you probably can. But the thing is, when you have the Holy Spirit, you know, we know from jump that, you know, the struggling and heartache and stuff that we go through, we don't struggle unto death. You know, we don't struggle unto death. We struggle to get through. You know, so we know that we're going to come out on the other side, and we have an assurance of that. So the thing that helped me get through is, it says an old proverb, and it says, you know, trust in Yahuwah, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. And that helped me get through this whole situation. Because I didn't understand. As you can see, you can hear us talking, and you can get that. I'm pretty sure you're picking that up, that we were just in a place where we just had no clue what to do. You know, we didn't understand what was going on. And she said, you know, it was like, this was not supposed to happen. You know, she felt like this is not supposed to happen. He's supposed to be right here. He's supposed to be with us. He's supposed to be the second of you know, our nieces and nephews. Is supposed to be like second in line. He's supposed to be running around right now. You know, that's just how you feel. And it's like, I don't get it. You know, and you start having those feelings of like borderline hatred, you know, towards your Creator. And as I said, some people, I don't believe that anyone doesn't believe that there is a higher man, even if you put yourself in that category. So, you know, I mean, I feel real sorry for the people who don't believe there is a Creator who has control over it, because then you put it all on yourself, you know. So if you didn't stop this from happening, then, you know, but yeah, so you get into that place where it's like, say you borderline, you starting to more so than question Him, you start to actually have feelings of disdain for Him, and that's not a good place to be. But as I said, the Holy Spirit can always bring you back and remind you of those things that were taught, you know, by Him. So just that kept me going. Those are words from my Creator. That kept me going, you know, trusting Him with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, because I had no clue what to do. Going through it afterwards, how do we get through, you know? And that's how, you know, that's how I know we got through, you know, just trusting in Him. As you said, didn't do everything right, haven't done everything right, but we know that through Him, His long suffering, His patience, His love, there's mercy, there's grace, you know, and all those things that He gives, it helps us to go on. And then when we do fall, we know that there is a way to get back, you know, through repentance, to, you know, admitting our faults, and then making the decision to say, hey, no, this is wrong. I know it's wrong. I made a mistake. I messed up, and I'm going to walk. You know, I'm going to follow You. You know, I'm going to not lean to my own understanding. I'm going to acknowledge You. I'm going to follow You, and that's just the thing that really got me through. And I will say the last thing I shared with her earlier is Romans 15:1. And it talks about how we who are strong should bear the infirmities of the weak, and not for our own selfish gain. So it's just, you know, when many times we're going to get weak, we're going to get down in our mental state. Life is going to throw some things at us, but there are those that are around us who are strong. You know, it's going to be people around that are going to help you. you know, to get through. And we have people in our life that have helped us get through this tough time. So, you know, I'm grateful to, you know, to the Father for that, putting those people in our life to help us get through this tough situation. And if you trust in Him, He'll put people in your life that'll help you get through these tough times as well. So,
all right. So that kind of brings us to the end of this. It's very long. If you made it to the end, thanks. I really just hope that this helps someone, because I mean, there are a lot of us. 1 in 4 lose a child, and from whatever circumstance, you know, doesn't matter gestational age, doesn't matter any of that. You lost your child, and yeah, I just hope that this can help someone. I wish I could say, I'm like, oh, I hope, you know, one person watches this. No, I hope it goes viral. That's my prayer. Because I want to reach as many people as the Father would see fit for it to reach, because I just want you to know that you can. That's just it. You can. You can survive it. You can thrive after it. You can breathe. Breathe.
Man.
Really. You can breathe. So, yeah, that wraps this up. And hopefully we'll stick to our word, and we'll see you again. So, thanks for watching. Happy birthday, Timothy.
Happy birthday, Timothy.
All right.